Welcome to the Handmade Entrepreneur Life. I'm your host, Katherine Hampton. Together we are journeying through life as handmade entrepreneurs. I started my journey in 2013 and have successfully built a business that generates multiple six figures year after year. My goal is to share strategies and techniques that I have learned so that you can skip the stress and jump straight to success. Now let's get started. Hello, I hope everybody is having a great week. It is super hot in Texas. We are definitely in the middle of the summer, so I feel like I'm melting. So whatever you are up to right now, I hope that you are staying cool and having some fun, taking a little bit of a break at least, getting to enjoy some summertime fun. This week's episode is going to be a little bit short and sweet. I received a very sweet email from one of my Etsy customers this week, and that's what inspired today's podcast episode. So in her email, she said that, like me, she's a nurse, but she's not able to work anymore because of some injuries that she sustained from a car accident. And she also said in this email that she's been thinking about starting an Etsy shop, but was concerned about all of the competition that's on Etsy because there seems to be just thousands and thousands of shops selling the same things. And she wanted to know if it really was possible to make a good living running a handmade business. She didn't want to go through the effort of starting a business and trying to sell things if it was going to be a waste of time. So of course, I replied to her with a few tips, and I let her know that I do think that it is possible. But because this is a question that I see a lot on the forums and on the Etsy Facebook groups, I thought that it would be a good topic for us to discuss today, and that it would be a good idea to kind of go a little bit more in depth with you guys about what I talked to her about. So, as adults, we all know at this point in our lives that life just throws us curveballs. It's just a fact of life. And I was talking about this with my grandpa, probably, I don't know, I guess almost 5 years ago now. And my grandpa said to me that it's like when you take a wrong turn and the GPS says that recalculating, you just have to take a deep breath and travel down the new path ahead. You just have to accept that you missed that turn and you've got to take a U-turn or take a right turn and travel down a new path. And he said this to me. We had this conversation when I was just up to my eyeballs in anxiety and trying to figure out what I was going to do after my husband had his brain injury. And I was trying to figure out, how am I going to provide for my family? How am I going to leave my nursing job because I'm not going to be able to be away from my husband after this injury and still take care of him, but also be able to bring in enough income to still not change the lifestyle that my children were used to, because I was trying to make sure that they experienced as little change as possible with them already having to experience so much change from my husband's injury. So that piece of advice from my grandpa has had a huge impact on how I look at changes that pop up in my life ever since then. I just have this little voice that I hear say recalculating, and it makes me smile and think, okay, I can handle this. It's just a new path and it's a change in plans and it's going to be okay. And I've noticed since starting my Etsy shop that there's actually a lot of people who start Etsy shops because of a change in plans, that they're recalculating their life plan too, and they're looking for a way to make an additional income for whatever reason. So because of that, because there's some sort of drive or some sort of reason that they're needing to find that source of additional income, or maybe they're wanting a new career path, or for whatever reason, fear of competition is not something that needs to stand in your way. Whatever the reason is that you're wanting to change the source of income for you or your family, that should drive you, and not let the competition be the reason that stops you changing your income source. So I hope that you won't let that fear of competition stop you and kind of squash your motivation. I do know that competition is sometimes seen as a dirty word, and we sometimes talk about how we wish there was no competition, or you could make so much more money if you didn't have competition. But if there is competition, if there's a market that has competition, then that means that there's a market for your product. That means that there's customers who are looking for the type of product that you're trying to sell. So you just have to figure out how to make your product the best product that's in that market. So then the game becomes, okay, so how am I going to make my personality and my style stand out in the crowd? And you do that by researching your target market and figuring out who specifically, what type of customer is going to be looking for your style. And something else that you want to keep in mind when you're thinking about competition is there could be, say there's 10 people selling t-shirts. All 10 of those sellers could be selling to 10 different target markets. So just within those 10 sellers, that weeds out the competition exponentially. So please don't be overwhelmed by how many sellers there are and how many people you're competing with. As long as you are not just another generic seller who is looking at what everybody else is selling and trying to sell what everybody else is selling without putting your style and your mark on it, you will find your customers. Your customers will find you. You will have your signature style, and there will be people that want to buy from you. And suddenly the market and the competition is going to be smaller. Now, something else that I want you to keep in mind when you're starting your business or when you're relatively new to your Etsy shop is the importance of having realistic expectations about how quickly you're going to start having consistent sales. It's not realistic to think you're going to list your shop, you're going to put 10, 15 products in your shop, and then 10 days later you're going to be a millionaire. That's really not realistic. Even those shops that somehow go viral with BuzzFeed picking up an item, that they typically, very rarely, stay just rolling in the sales. Most shops, they take about a year or so before they start seeing consistent sales. So that first year, it may feel like it's a total waste of time. You may feel like, oh my gosh, I'm putting so much at work and effort and money, and I'm just wasting my time. What's the point? But it's really not a waste of time. The first year is when you are building the foundation of your shop. And that's the most important layer, okay? It's the most important layer. I want to say that twice for emphasis. It just takes patience. And I know that that's super frustrating, and it can be disheartening when you feel like, oh my gosh, I just want somebody to buy something. But during this first year, you're testing and tweaking, and you're learning who your target market is. You're learning your marketing style. You're learning your business strengths and weaknesses. You're figuring out, okay, maybe I need to study this more. Maybe I need to learn more about search engine optimization. There's all these things that go into running a business, and it's very rare that you just show up, list your items, and then you're a millionaire. So even Jeff Bezos had to learn. He had to start in his garage and build and build and build to get to where he is now. So you're it's going to take patience, it's going to take time. Becoming a successful entrepreneur, it's a process, and that first year involves a lot of growth. So just please be patient and push through so that you allow yourself that time to grow and to grow your business. For an in-depth training on how to tin up your competition and provide value for your customers, check out cupcakeinsider.com. It's 100% free and hosted by my friend Renee Christie. No strings attached. So the last thing that I want to cover that is an important thing to keep in mind when you're starting a new Etsy shop or just new to the handmade entrepreneur life in general is that life as a handmade entrepreneur can feel a little lonely at times. A lot of us work from home and sell solely on the internet. So when we aren't interacting with many people, it can be isolating. Now, if you add to that our real life friends and our family, they don't always understand or support what we're doing, that can make things even more difficult. So you can help combat that by making friends with people in your specific handmade community. Now, just because you sell the same thing, that doesn't mean that they have to be your mortal enemy. So for instance, if you make handmade soaps or jewelry, find other artisans with that same expertise. Those people who share the same talents as you, they can really become your best online friends, and they can help to keep you feeling sane on those days when you just feel like you want to give up or you feel like you're going crazy. So it's really important to find those people who understand what you're doing and what you're going through, or suppliers that you're looking for, or frustrations that you may be having. I've made some really great friends through those online communities, and some of them I've even been friends with for over 5 years now. So I really encourage you to look in places like Facebook for specific Facebook groups that relate to your niche, or on Reddit. They have groups that are really popular for knitting or crocheting, and just find communities of people that will make you feel supported and understood. The last thing that I want you to feel is that you're doing this alone, and that's something that can happen really quickly, and it's very common in the handmade community. And it's not necessary, because there are a lot of us, and there are a lot of us who are very happy to support one another. So just find those people that are supportive and encouraging, and spend time in those places. So friends, the answer is yes. Yes, you can do it. You can run a successful handmade Etsy shop, or online shop for that matter, that does make a good income despite all of that competition. It's not necessary to spend time and energy worrying about your competition. Really, you should be making friends with your competition. So you just have to be committed to pushing through those tough times that everybody has, and seek out a community of people who are also understanding and supportive of your goals. Trust me when I say you can do this. There are tons of free resources that I have for you and tips at thehandmadeentrepreneur.life.com. Go there, read as much as you can. Join the Handmade Entrepreneur Life Facebook group so that I can help you there. Let's get this done. Let's get your Etsy shop rolling. You've got this. Thank you so much for listening today. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to listen to the podcast. If you found it helpful, I would really appreciate you taking a screenshot of the podcast picture and sharing it on Facebook and Instagram so that we can help as many handmade sellers as possible. If you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear from you on Instagram at The Handmade Entrepreneur Life, And I look forward to talking to you next week. Have a great week, everybody. Bye. Are you currently struggling to make sales? Do you have a passion for your handmade craft but lack a clear business strategy? Or maybe you are wanting to take your side hustle to the next level and make it your full-time job. If any of this sounds like you, I invite you to check out my 30-day action plan, where you will receive a personalized one-on-one analysis of your handmade shop with a 30-day action plan and 2 follow-up email check-ins. For more details, please visit bit.ly/myshop.plan. The website is bit.ly/myshop.plan.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.